let's look now again at the text of the Bahir and Sefer HaBahir, and see how a midrash, or the style of the midrash, can be twisted in a way that can even be somewhat disturbing. A second. This is Ein Het, I think. Here. Let me read the Hebrew first. Me'echan hayta le'Avraham bat. Where from did Avraham had a daughter? Now, you read this and you say, wait, Avraham did not have a daughter, right? Not according to the Bible. But the Midrash says, on the verse, Vashem berach et Avraham bakol, God blessed Avraham with everything. The Midrash says, one of the interpretations in the classic Midrash is that Avraham had a daughter, and her name was Bakol, with everything. There are not that many people who are called Bakol, but there's a journalist in Israel whose name is Bakol Salui, the only one I know who's called by that name. But anyway, that's the Midrash. Midrash says that he had a real daughter, and her name was Bakol. But here, HaBahir says, Uchtiv kol hanikra bishmi velichvodi berativ yetzartiv avasitiv. All those who are called by my name, I created them for my glory. And by the way, the verse that is brought here contains 3 verbs in Hebrew: bara, to create; yatzar, to form, to give shape; and asa, to make. And later on, those will be the worlds, 3 of the 4 worlds that are a prominent part of the literature of Zohar, Atzilut, Bri'ah, and another Zohar, the Kabbalistic literature, Atzilut, Bri'ah, Yetzirah, Asiyah. So the HaBahir asks, Hai bracha, hayta bito, or lo hayta? Now already it moves to the next stage of assuming that we're not talking about a daughter, but about the concept of blessing, and that the blessing is in itself the daughter of Avraham. Mashal lema hadavar domeh. So what is this analogous to? So now we remember we're talking about a certain attribute, maybe the attribute of blessing or of abundance, that is given to Avraham. And now the HaBahir wants to present an analogy that will help us understand what was the nature of that gift that was given to Avraham, the daughter that is named Bakol, everything, and which is a blessing. So lema hadavar domeh, to what is this analogous? Lemelech shehaya lo eved tamim veshalem lefanav. A king who had a slave, a servant, who was wholesome and perfect. Nisau bechama nisyonot ve'amad bekulam. He tried him in several trials, and he was able to withstand all of them. So up to this point, who is the king? In the analogy, who is the king? The king is God, right? And the servant is Avraham. This is clear. Amar HaMelech, ma eten le'eved ze o ma ya'aseh lo. So now the king says, what is it that I could give this servant, or what could I do for him? So let me hide the text 1 second, and let me ask you, okay, based on the question of Sefer HaBahir. Sefer HaBahir says, did Avraham had a daughter? He had. Her name was Bakol. What was this daughter? She was a blessing. The blessing was given to Avraham. Now the analogy: the king with the servant who's being tried in different trials, and the king asks himself, "How can I reward my slave? What can I do for him?" What would you say? What would you, if you tried to guess, what would be the next step of the midrash?
Give him his freedom.
Give him his freedom. Okay, that's a good set him free. Okay. Any other idea?
To bless him.
Give him a blessing, right? That would be in line. So you're following the line of thought of the opening of the midrash, right? That Avraham was given blessing. So I accept that Avraham will get this blessing. Okay, so let's go back to the midrash and see what it says. So the midrash says the following. The HaBahir, says this. Amar en li ela atzavenu leahi gadol liya'atzo ulshomro ulchabdo. So the only thing I could do is I will hand this slave over to my older brother, who would counsel him, and will protect him and will honor him. Now here, how do you understand the analogy? If the king is God, right, in the mashal, who is God's older brother? You see the problem? This is a serious problem. Where the analogy all of a sudden throws in, this is, I think, part of the attempt when the author attempted to take the midrashic literature and play with it. It took him to maybe a place that he should not have gone to, but it leaves the reader perplexed. Anyway, we'll go back to that. Hazara Avedei Mahiva Gadol. So the servant went to serve the older brother of the king. Velamad midotav. Ahevo ha'achmeod ukra'o ohavo. And that brother loved him very much and called him my beloved one. Dichtiv zera Avraham ohavi. Amar, you are the descendants of Avraham, my beloved. Amar, ma'eten lo umay iselo. What can I give him, or what could I do for him? Hine kli na'e asiti. Here I made this beautiful vessel. Uvo margaliot naot en kmotam sgulot melachim. In this vessel contains beautiful pearls. That there are none like them. I will give it to him. Ve'yizke bimkomo, and it will acquire them. Hadaud ichtiv. This is what it says. V'Hashem berach et Avraham bakol. This is the meaning of the verse. God blessed Avraham with everything. So let's look here. See, where do we see that Avraham? So how was this translated by Rabbi Kaplan? Right? See, the king tested us in many ways. The king said, I can do nothing but command my older brother to advise him, watch him and honor him. And what does he give him? He gives him this, the treasures of kings. This is the meaning of the verse. Okay. Now, Rabbi Kaplan here, again, asks the question that we ask, who is the older brother? Okay. See, and the reference is to kingship, and its older brother directly above it is foundation. So the commentary on this text makes use of the Sefirot, and in general, if you look at those footnotes, it makes a lot of references to the Sefirot. The allusion is to the Sefer of Malchut, kingship, which is feminine. Congregation of Israel is kingship. Sefirot, Sefer of foundation, etc. So what the commentary does here is take the concept of Sefirot that is not to be found in Sefer HaBahir and argue that this is the hidden text that we're not aware of, that we only have allusions to those ideas. So when he says the kingship and directly above it foundation, let us look 1 second at the Sefirot. Oh, sorry, I'm still in the Hebrew. I'll type it in Hebrew. Sefirot. Okay, so this is an illustration of what people call the Ilana Sfirot, the tree of Sefirot, or Ilana Elyon. So that is that we have Keter, Chokhmah, Bina. Some include Da'at here. Then you have Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, El Malchut. Now, each one of them represents a certain attribute, a character trait. Keter literally means crown. And we'll see later on when we come to the Zohar and post-Zohar literature, is also called Keter and Sof, the infinite Keter, the Elyon, the one which is unknown. This is understood as the place where no one, the concept no one can comprehend. Chokhmah is wisdom, Bina intelligence, the ability to understand one thing from the other. Da'at, according to one count, Da'at will be here, but when you count Da'at, then you don't count Keter. You realize that there are 11 here, right? When you count all of them, Keter, Chokhmah, you see 1 to 10, without Da'at is not being counted. When Keter is counted, Da'at is not. When Keter is associated with the upper realm, which we cannot access, then it starts with Chokhmah, Bina, Da'at. Da'at is the power of discretion, the ability to determine based on the data, which is wisdom, and intelligence, which is Bina, to arrive at a conclusion. That would be Da'at. Hesed is loving kindness or faithfulness. Gevurah is rigor or harsh judgment. Okay, it's a different. Tiferet is glory. Netzach, eternity. Hod is a different type of glory. Maybe we could say the way a person carries himself. That would be Hod. Yesod is foundation, and Malchut is kingship. So now there, in some of the I would call the schemes of understanding the Ilana Elyon, that tree, one would be placed on top of the others, in a way that the Malchut of one realm is the Keter of the other. Yes, let's you imagine imposing this one on top of another one, another flow chart like that. Then in each world, the upper one, Keter, is actually the lower one of the next in the line of command, and both of them, Keter and Malchut, both connote kingship. But now, in the commentary to the HaBahir that we saw, we read about the king who hands his servant to his older brother, and Rabbi Kaplan explains there that it refers to the Malchut, who hands the servant over to the next Sefirah, which is Yesod, which is a very strange message, meaning that only one, according to that, there will be only one facet or one manifestation of God, which communicates. I mean, according to that understanding, that the world, the divine world, is made of these Sefirot and this flowchart, then only one Sefirah is the one that communicates with Abraham, and then at a certain point he is being transferred to the next in command, which is Yesod. And what happens then? Does he keep moving up in the chain of Sefirot until he gets to the Keter or not? So that's the problem where we try to when we explain the literature first, the literature of the Bahir with the literature of the Zohar that comes later on, and also with taking those midrashic formulas of the king and his family, and transferring them to this kind of esoteric literature. We have another example of that here. I think we'll do 2 more paragraphs for today, and then we'll continue to the next work. Here, it's a very common analogy in the midrash is that of the king and the daughter is the Torah. Here. Okay, so in the Zohar, I'm moving ahead a little bit. In the Zohar, there's a famous analogy of the Olemta Shapirta, of the beautiful woman who is concealed behind a veil. She is a princess, and those who want to see her wait around her house all day, waiting for the moment that she will open the curtain, that they will be able to see her a little bit. For those of you who live in Los Angeles, you would call this paparazzi, but the way the Zohar says is much more serious. Is someone who's obsessed in his love for that woman, so he waits there. He waits for her to reveal her face, and he sees her. And the Zohar says she opens the curtain, and he's the only one who gets to see her, and no one else gets to see her. And that, I think, is a beautiful message in the Zohar, because it sends the message that in order to be able to achieve something, you have to be focused and concentrated and willing and waiting for that thing to happen. And that opportunity could be right in front of you, but if you're not looking and searching for it, you're going to miss it. And in the Zohar, the analogy is about the study of Torah, the ability to open new frontiers in the Torah. So that is the analogy in the Zohar. In the midrashic literature, in between, it speaks about the king who married off his daughter, but he still longs for her, and he wants to see her. So there's a certain curtain between them that once in a while she would be able to slide that curtain and see him, and that is the idea of the midrash, different than that of the Zohar, is that God is the king, the Torah is his daughter, and Am Yisrael is the groom. And even though God gave the Torah to the Jews, to the Israelites, he is still connected to it. And so we have this kind of connection to God through his Torah. In Sefer HaBahir, that took it's somewhere in between. This is sort of the transition stage between the two. So what is the analogy? But before that, it speaks about the kesef is zahav. It is not really connected to the previous text. So the words umay avidete hacha, like what is the meaning of that? What does it do here? It's not so clear. But it says mashal lema davar domeh. What is it analogous to? Melech shayta lo bat tova u'ne'ima v'na'a u'shlema the king had this beautiful and perfect daughter, V'si'ah ben melech, and he married her off to a prince. V'ilbisha v'itra v'kishta u'netana lo b'mamon rav. So he dressed her and he crowned her and he decorated her and he decked her and gave her to the groom for a hefty price, a dowry that he has to pay. Now, if Sharlo lamelech leishev chutz mibeto, can the king be away from his palace? Meaning, should he go and live with his daughter? Amarta lo. The answer would be no, he cannot. If Sharlo lashevet kol hayom tamid ima, could he always be with her? No, sorry. If Sharlo lamelech leishev chutz mibito, could he be away from his daughter? The answer is no. Could he be with her at all times? No. Hakitzad, sam halon beno lebeina. So far we could understand that, as you know, the father is longing for his daughter. It's a nice analogy, but as in the original midrash, it's the way for the people to connect with God. But here's the kol sha'a shetzricha habat leavia or av lebito mithabrim yachad derech halon. At all times when the daughter needs her father or the father needs her daughter, they get together through the window. This is I think a disturbing image. Not clear what is it that the author wanted to convey. I'll give the benefit of the doubt that what he wanted to say is that they have this type of communication, but it comes across not as something which is positive, and that is again an example of the alterations, the manipulations of the midrashic text that can become problematic. Finally, I wanted to look at one more piece from this midrash, this Sefer HaBahir. Now, I would like to comment on this one before we go to the last one, because this is actually an example to what Caroline asked before, to a text that are inspiring in Kabbalah. They asked this question: Umaynihu eretz? They quote a pasuk from Kohelet: Vitron eretz bakol. The advantage of the land bakol, in all. Maynihu eretz שנחצבה ממנו שמיים והוא כיסאו של הקדוש ברוך הוא. The earth is the earth was sort of like I would say carved from the heaven, and the heaven is the throne of God, and it's the precious stone, and it's the sea of wisdom, and it is analogous to the techelet, to the blue fringe of the tzitzit. And Rabbi Meir said, why was the blue fringe chosen of all the other colors? Because the blue color resembles the ocean resembles the heaven, the heaven resembles the divine throne. Shenemar, and he quotes a verse. Now, this is not original for Sefer HaBahir. The manipulation of the text in the first sentence is the work of the author of Sefer HaBahir, but because so here how it goes. Rabbi Meir, if you realize, makes a gradual statement. The blue fringe resembles the ocean. Next stage, ocean resembles the heavens. Next stage, heaven resembles the throne. Right? So there is ascending order. That would be a text of meditation. But the author of Sefer HaBahir says, the earth is the throne, is the stone, is the sea, is the blue fringe. They're all on the same level. Sort of a convergence of nouns or of ideas. Now, what Rabbi Meir said makes sense, and it is sort of either an inspiring text or sort of an introduction to meditation. What he says is this: You look at the blue fringe, and what do you associate it with? With the ocean. And eventually it comes to the association with the divine throne. If Rabbi Meir thinks that the divine throne is blue, he should say the blue fringe reminds us of the divine throne because the divine throne is blue. But he doesn't say that. What he says is this: the immediate association of blue is the ocean. What do you think of when you think of the ocean? He doesn't say it here, but it's insinuated. When we think of the ocean, we think of the vast expanses of the ocean, and of our inability to control the ocean. Even today, but much more so in ancient times. Like we mentioned, the seafarers, the people who go down to the sea are people who know that they might not emerge. They realize how insignificant they are compared to the ocean. And this is conveyed in Psalm 104, Ze'ayam gadol u'havadayim. The ocean is vast and expansive, and we can get lost in it. So now we have the first level of comparison. Me compared to the ocean, how insignificant I am. Now I'm ready for the next step in that exercise of meditation. The ocean resembles the heavens. So now I'll have to think that the same level of magnitude, of difference between me and the ocean exists between the ocean and the heavens. Just as the ocean is much greater than me, so also the heavens is much greater than the ocean. And once I was able to digest and understand that level of magnitude, I'm ready for the next one to say the divine throne is as greater than the heavens as the heaven is greater than the ocean as the ocean is greater than me. So this is the gradual exercise that we may introduces. He says you just have to really, to get to that level of understanding, to be inspired or to meditate, you have to really focus and concentrate and think of those things, and then you arrive at that level. Whereas the author of Sefer HaBahir sort of flattened everything and just added, accumulated all these analogies, which is something that we'll see later on in the period of the publishing of the Zohar, where there's a literature that works on the different synonyms to all the sefirot and all the every noun, every adjective, every word that is used in the Torah or in the Zohar could be attributed to one of the sefirot, and as a result, you have this flood, an overdrive of the senses of words and colors that sometimes leads you to confusion, and sometimes leads you to the ability to maybe put aside the barriers. But that is a different technique. What Rabbi Meir suggests is a very gradual, methodical way to start from the techelet, from an object that is immediately near us, and arrive to that conceptual understanding of the totality of the universe and the divine throne. So we find those things in the text as well, but in this particular case, it comes from a much earlier source. So I think that is for today, and